Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IBEX Medical Analytics sponsored seminar. We are really excited to be here and host you all. We have a very interesting setup and talking today about artificial intelligence in primary diagnosis from FDA clearance to real-world applications. And we have a great panel of speakers, as you can see. So hope you are as excited as I am. And so our first speaker is Professor Mahul Amin, Professor of Pathology associated with the Tennessee University as well as KEG, and Vice President at LabCorp. And Professor Mahul Amin will talk about IBEX AI and the pathologist perspective.
Thank you, Manuela, and good afternoon. Just want to make sure people at the back can hear me. How's the sound there? Good? Okay. So I am a pathologist working for the past 35 plus years as a diagnostic pathologist and have been through the evolution of prostate pathology from identifying high-grade PIN to making modifications in the Gleason system, making sure that us as pathologists can recognize prostate cancer correctly. Have seen some amazing development in pathology from staging to precision medicine, and the advent of AI has given us a very unique perspective to even further impact our role in the management of patients with urologic cancers. So with that, this is my opportunity, having worked with IBEX for now almost 5 years, to give you my perspective, not only as a diagnostician, but where an IBEX-type solution is really incredible, not only from the pathologist's perspective, but really serving the patients. So if one takes a look at the prostate biopsy scenario worldwide, arguably the numbers are around 8 to 10 million prostate biopsies being performed each year. And people have argued whether these numbers are going to go down because of PSA screening guidelines or MPMRI coming in with a reduced number of biopsies, or are we going to see an increased number of biopsies because of patients with active surveillance, patients with an aging population. And the current trend is that while the numbers are stable, it's very likely that we're going to see a slight increase in the number of prostate biopsies we're going to see in the next 5 years or so at least. And during these 30 years that I described in the evolution of prostatic disease management, the role of the needle biopsy has expanded considerably to not just providing the gold standard for the diagnosis, that is that the patient has prostate cancer, but in a needle biopsy, by defining some parameters, really defining how patients should be stratified, including patients who receive active surveillance, radiation therapy, surgery, et cetera. And so just to take the NCCN guidelines, which most designated cancer centers in the United States use as an example, you can see that the stratification, and each of these stratification categories have patients that then go into very distinct management decision algorithms. And so with patients with low-risk disease, what is very important, as you know, is the Gleason grade of the cancer, the number of cores involved, 3 or less, and the amount of cancer in each core. And we know it's not just 50%. If they're discontinuous foci, they have to be calculated differently. So the amount of cancer is really very important. And based on this, patients really make major decisions of whether they should be treated or not. In the favorable intermediate risk category, where there is a pressure to give some sort of treatment, again, the definition of the involvement of cores is different. It is less than 50% of the biopsy cores involved. So if they had 12 biopsies, then 6 had to be involved. So estimating whether there's cancer or not, what's the Gleason grade and score, and the number of cores involved, and the percentage is really key in these needle biopsies. So what is the opportunity statement for us as pathologists when we are dealing with prostate cancer, and how can we influence that management? So as pathologists, we want to diagnose prostate cancer accurately. And with pertaining to active surveillance, is not only recognizing cancer, it's recognizing all the cores with cancer and all the different foci, because different foci can lead to different estimates of continuous and discontinuous foci that lead to that 50% change. Of course, we provide the Gleason score, quantitate the amount of tumor, and provide all of this information in a report. So the challenge/opportunity in the field has been the underdiagnosis of cancer. And when one just looks at the literature, that means pathologists reviewing each other's work, there's about a 1.7% underdiagnosis of cancer. I'm going to show you how AI has changed these numbers. And an overdiagnosis of cancer in about 1.5%, ranging from the numbers I showed you. We know with Gleason, there's an entire issue with intra and inter-observer reproducibility. The measurement is an eyeball measurement, and there are, of course, technical challenges with presenting the report in a succinct fashion. So now, in addition to all of this, this is our challenges on a day-to-day basis, right? We have a high number of prostate cores and biopsies to look at in each core. And depending on if you're just in a GU service or primarily GU service or just doing many others, if you have just 10 or 15 cases and 8 or 10 cores, you're looking easily at over 100 plus cores per day. Now, we know that anatomic pathologists are rarely involved with misdiagnosis, but when it occurs, it is severe. And in the prostate, the latest numbers we had, and this is a couple of years ago, the incidence of being involved medico-legally is rare, but when it occurs, the numbers are relatively big. We also know that not infrequently, as you're looking through 20, 25 slides on a case, the last slide has a small focus, and you're already tired looking at all the different foci trying to screen for cancer. We also have to worry about ordering recuts, immunohistochemistry, clinicians calling, and you always almost wish you had somebody who screened the cases and told you what you had to do with these cases. The clinicians are expecting greater degree of subspecialization from us, and of course, as we all know, we have a shortage of colleagues in the community, and the newer generation wants a flexibility in time and geography to work. So all of these are challenges that we face, and I will show you in the next 10 minutes that all of these are significantly enhanced and addressed by the digital pathology AI solution, including the one that IBEX offers. So now just when you're looking, and AI is the trend in the next couple of years for us to understand, to really understand which is a good AI product, we need to understand sensitivity of the test, specificity of the test, things we know well as pathologists, positive predictive value, kappa values, et cetera. But a concept that is not well understood by most pathologists is area under the curve, which is very commonly used in machine learning because it's binary. Is there cancer or not? It's looking at just two aspects. And when you look at area under the curve, the model tries to predict whether an input belongs to one of those two classes. So if you do heads or tails, that's 50% chance. If the AUC is 1, that is perfect, right? So you want to be closer to 1 when you're looking at AUCs that is published from the AI algorithm in addition to sensitivity, specificity, and others. And so when one looks at the data, and this is a recent compilation from a nice review paper, the AUA for cancer detection in the last 3 to 4 years has almost reached 100%, 98 to 99 or 0.99%. And when you look at the kappa statistics, for general pathologists, it's in 0.6, 0.7 range with Gleason grading and grade grouping, again, through AI algorithms, is just significantly improved. So what can AI realistically do for us when we are practicing these cases? We want to make sure, can someone just tell us which slides are benign, very likely to be benign, which are atypical, and which are cancer? Those that are atypical, can we just get recuts and IHC and get the work moving? We need to annotate the slides, suggest a Gleason score, and quantitate the tumor. And also document very important findings that we have to report, including cribriform morphology, perineural invasion. So let me show you that AI, again, will show, by addressing these issues, improves quality and efficiency and consistency in cancer detection, quantitation, grading, et cetera. So I wanted to recognize here our colleague, Dr. Santa Rosario from CorePlus, and Mariano is going to speak about their incredible wide experience. But Santa comes in the morning, sometimes just hopefully early in the morning. He lives in beautiful Puerto Rico, has a cup of coffee, looks at the number of cases he has. He has this big screen instead of microscope. And then he sees the foci, and he applies what's called a heat map. And a heat map is basically, if it's red, there's a very high likelihood of cancer. If it's blue, it's very likely benign, right? So in his workflow, I'm just picking up a day in the life of Dr. Rosario. Say he has 20 cases of prostate biopsies to look at. He knows already, sitting at home probably, that he has 379 cores to look at that day. But most interestingly, he already knows there are 8 cases with cancer, 8 without cancer, but they are atypical, so he may need to work it up. And there are some foci that he needs to evaluate. The rest are benign. And so when he's looking at the case, let's say he's looking at that particular case that is shown here by the arrow, what this case shows that there are, from the 20 cases, from this case, there are 7 parts that are benign, 3 cancer and 2 atypical. So he basically needs to focus on the cancer foci, make sure that they are cancer. Atypical foci, does he need to even work them up because the cancer foci, and really focus on what is going to matter for this patient. Do I need to work up the atypical foci? Because has he reached the threshold for active surveillance? So it really helps him guide through the cases. And so here is a case that he has. He applies the heat map, and as he's applying the heat map with Mariano, who's going to speak next, they have developed a great AI system in collaboration with IBEX. They drop that information into the report. And so as he's looking at the case, he's already got the case all signed out. So here's an example of a case. You can see there's a small focus at the edge. He applies the heat map. It's kind of the in-between yellow color, so not diagnostic of cancer. There's a small focus, unusual looking morphology. So he needs to apply immunohistochemistry, and the immunohistochemistry shows that this is a focus of cancer. So clearly expedites his case review, a real-time quality control, and a confidence at what he's looking at. He can then measure the foci of cancer. If there are 2 foci, he can measure them and make it discontinuous and add it up. Now, this is IBEX's experience. As I said, the literature, when we compare with each other, shows an error rate of about 2.2%. Now, this is the IBEX experience. A lot of this work has been published, and the error rates for diagnosis of foci of cancer. It doesn't necessarily mean whether it influenced care, but at least understanding, and we know that all the foci are important and the quantitation is important, but just looking at the number of foci that are potentially missed, the ranges from as low as 2 and 1.8%, these were large academic centers, to more in the 12 and 13%. The average has been in the 6 to 9% range for these patients. Now, Yossi, who's the CEO, reminds me that Wales is a country, and that country has entirely adopted AI, and they're using it across the country, and they're using IBEX. And this is their experience in over 6,000 cases. A staggering positive predictive value of 99.8%, negative predictive value, again, in that very high rate. There's a 13% reduction in identifying those small foci. Of course, incredible efficiency because you already know which are the foci to look for. 49% reduction in immunohistochemistry. This is important in value-based systems where you want to do the right thing in terms of making sure you get the least number of tests but the most accurate diagnosis for the best cost. Increased confidence of diagnosis, and of course, the turnaround time improvements. That was just very impressive. Now, in the journey to FDA approval, IBEX first got the CE approval. This was a study performed in 2021, and they showed that just by using IBEX in 40 cases, the pathologists were already increasingly efficient in using IBEX prostate and then in practicing that in pathology. And they showed, you can see it on the slide, there's an improved accuracy by 32%, productivity gains by almost 40%, and the faster turnaround time, it would take almost 1.8 days when you go back and forth looking at the case, immunos, recuts, to almost an average of 9 minutes per case. So recently, IBEX received the FDA approval for their IBEX AI product, and I'm going to show you a little about what that means. But as you all know, as pathologists at the high level, the FDA is a regulatory body that has stringent evidence requirements that in order for a medical test to be approved by them, it ensures patient safety, efficacy, accuracy, reliability, improved clinical utility, above the standard of care. So it has to enhance what we are doing and beyond that. In anatomic pathology, their involvement has been relatively restricted. They've approved 5 scanners, 4 AI algorithms, including IBEX's prostate algorithm. And in the field of companion diagnostics, using the term very generally, they've been very involved with those that guide certain therapy, such as HER2 and PD-L1. So the IBEX approval for the prostate detect program is when IBEX showed the ability of AI to generate heat maps that identified small and rare foci of missed prostatic cancer. So of course, if you put the slide under the microscope and it's cancer, it's not an issue. It's the small foci of cancer, and they showed that the relevance of the AI algorithm being able to do it. So the intended use case from the FDA is to identify high likelihood of cancer cases initially diagnosed as benign, and then by a further review is picked up by the AI algorithm and the pathologist to detect as cancer. It is for the detection of adenocarcinoma in this setting, and because FDA has very stringent rules of which scanners, for the purposes of this FDA approval, the IBEX had worked with the Finis scanner, but it is integrated in multiple IMS systems. And there were several studies. I'm not going to go into the details of the study, but give you some headlines. So there were 2 types of clinical studies that were performed and 3 types of analytical studies. I'll walk you through the clinical studies. But basically, you can see the rigor. It had 5 sites, including academic and large community practices, and in an international setting, large number of pathologists being involved, and over 8,000 slides being reviewed. So one of the more interesting slides for us to look at is the impact of an AI algorithm in cases that was submitted from 3 institutions as already benign. So these were all cases, almost 5,942 benign slides were submitted as not having cancer. And the headline news is that 13% cases were identified as cancer through a ground truthing of experts and then confirmed by the pathologist, by the AI algorithm. So just looking at negative slides, you can see the impact. And if we were to take the 10% required review of second review by pathologist to pathologist, you can see that the sensitivity of pathologists picking up another focus is 9.4%. The sensitivity of AI algorithm picking up another focus is 81%. So there's almost an 8 times increase in the amount of cancer that can be detected by the AI algorithm. The other study, the first study that they performed also as part of this study, was they looked at cases which had both cancer and benign cases, right? And again, 3 sites, there were 12 pathologists, 3 review pathologists, 772 cases. And you can see that the sensitivity for detection of cancer was 92%, and you can see the confidence interval versus standard of care, which is 88%. That's showing the number of cases that were picked up by this. And the rate of missed cancers dropped from 9.5 to 6.1. So there was a 36% improvement in detection of cancer. Now, you can see the specificity is a little lower because you want the test to identify all the atypical foci. And if it is an atypical focus, you as pathologists driving this diagnosis should have the ability to order IHCs or not. So you want a test that's very sensitive in screening atypical foci, but not necessarily high specificity. And you can see that in this data. IBEX is also the first AI algorithm in the 5 that have been approved by the FDA, whose heat map has also been approved as part of the FDA approval process. So the heat map, as I showed, is if it's red, is cancer. So if you can see at the bottom, if there's a 0.95% high likely dark red kind of color hue, there's 100% specificity and 99.6% positive predictive value. Now, through 30 years of evaluating the literature, when I saw these data, I said, that's nonsense, right? But when you see this kind of data published from multiple algorithms, from multiple centers. We know that there is a certain level of consistency in these AI algorithms that we as humans did not have when we performed these studies at a human level. Again, when it is blue, it's negative. You can see the sensitivity of a blue being negative is 98%. With a negative predictive value, again, 99.8%. So you can feel sufficiently comfortable that the blue parts are negative. So in summary, what is the value proposition I've shown you here and how this IBEX AI program is going to help us? From us as pathologists, the first is just the reduced anxiety and stress of screening. I mean, that's the biggest issue. And then you get phone calls in the middle and tumor boards and clinicians walking in, and then trying to find the smallest foci is really the biggest stress factor in our lives. This is now an open book exam. You have the answers, you go in and confirm it, right? It also gives you an increased diagnostic confidence, a real-time quality assurance that someone is a partner with you looking at these cases. There's clearly demonstration of increased efficiency, and we know that all of this then allows us to focus on things that are really important. Should I work this case up? Is this patient eligible for active surveillance? Does this patient require some ancillary testing? From our physicians, this is an incredible opportunity too, because it gives them greater diagnostic confidence that the pathologist on whom they rely on entirely for whether they should put a patient on active surveillance or not, or whether they have cancer or not, is got a real-time QA assistant. Faster turnaround time, there's no physician who doesn't like that, and you can see that the impact of that is very high. And so the physician satisfaction is always incredible. From the field of pathology, of course, this brings us much more into the digital world. The rest of the hospital systems are going into it. The ability to standardize how we are looking at cases. And most importantly, as IBEX unfolds this throughout the world, the same level of expertise is unfolded to other parts of the world, essentially democratizing the process and giving access to subspecialized level care. And let's not forget, at the end of the day, we are here to serve our patients, and our patients are the ones who benefit most with a higher degree of accuracy and therefore, in a sense, providing health equity opportunity for them. Thank you very much. We'll take probably questions at the end, but thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Professor Mahul Amin. Our next speaker is Professor Harshwardhan Thaker from University of Texas Medical Branch. He is the Vice Chair for Digital Pathology and Informatics and also Professor of Anatomic and Surgical Pathology. And he will talk about the digital transformation and adoption of artificial intelligence in his institution. So, Professor Thaker, please.
Thank you, Manuela, and the team at IBEX for inviting me to present this. I'd like to present essentially our journey as one academic pathology department. We are just a standard academic pathology department, 25,000 surgicals, about 12 to 18 anatomic pathologists, residency training, fellows, all the usual stuff that most of the academic centers have. We are somewhat subspecialized, but not 100%. So that's me there. And I'm going to take you on a journey of our department's digital transformation from very traditional to what I think is really at the forefront of where we should be going. And I just wanted to, that's my objective. I want to have this disclaimer. I work for a nonprofit academic center with strong non-endorsement and conflict of interest policies. So while I'm going to talk in detail about various products that we've used, but there's a lot of vendors out there, and I'm not making any actual specific endorsements here. I have no conflicts. So that's your traditional anatomic pathologist, has virtually unchanged since 1830. Okay, the stack of papers may have become a little smaller and there's a computer in there somewhere, but this is how a lot of pathology is going on even today in the United States. The future, well, at UTMB, the recent past, is that we sign out we are 100% digital. We were one of the first all digital academic pathology departments in the country, a few steps behind Ohio State, which I think was the better known. That's my office. We are an island off of the coast of Texas, 150 miles away from Houston. And you see there, already you see my computer screen. That's where I sign out my cases. I do GI, GU, and there's that microscope. That particular day, we had a whole stack of slides in folders. So for first couple years, we were hybrid mode, like a lot of places that are going digital are. In July of 2023, I decided that we had had enough time with the training wheels, as I call it, and then I took off the training wheels. We are now not distributing slides. The slides go from histology to the scanner, and from the scanner to the files. And all my pathologists are working in this mode. I'm the only one who's actually gotten rid of my microscope because I do a lot of meetings and I want to be face-to-face. My cytology colleagues still cling to their microscopes. We're going to change that as well. Many benefits of doing digital pathology. I used to give this talk about why to go digital. I think the highlighted one at the very bottom, artificial intelligence tools, is really the biggest driver of digital transformation today. And so we're going to talk about that. What can we do? Once you digitize a slide, there's data there, embedded in all those pixels there. That's when you can really start doing the math that's behind all of this AI, right? So, of course, we're here to talk about prostate AI and IBEX, and multiple different AI algorithms are out there, and two of them are represented here. We looked at them, and we selected IBEX to go and partner with. So this is our current structure. We have all our slides are scanned using Philips scanners. We traditionally view our slides on the Philips IMS. IBEX we had to build this VPN tunnel that goes in and pulls the slides that are marked for IBEX. So IBEX comes in, pulls those slides, does their magic, and gives it back to us using those screens. But before an academic center can go digital or go with AI, there's a lot of hurdles that have to be overcome. So I just want to walk you on the prequel to our story. And if this hadn't succeeded, we wouldn't have been able to go to the next step. October 31st of 2023 at the Digital Path Association was when I first spoke with Justin, our salesperson at IBEX, and understood the product, spoke with Dr. Pentanowitz, who is an early champion, and said, he gave me the thumbs up. That meant a lot to me. I got the on-site demo in our department. My pathologist gave me the thumbs up. We also wanted to include our urology colleagues, bring them along. Justin did a demo for them. They bought in, they love it. And then we had a 6-7 month period of just waiting for IT security, risk, legal, contract review, all the way to the headquarters of the UT system. And you need a champion advocating, and I had to send a lot of reminder emails and do all the stuff that we hate to do, but we must do, persist. And unfortunately, that's one of the biggest challenges in digital transformation in pathology today. But near-death events notwithstanding, we had the contract signed in July, and the implementation was so much easier. I mean, we had our kickoff. That's our project plan. We kept to plan. We did the IT integration. We did the validation. I have a great team. Okay, I have wonderful IT people, histology lab people. I was fully actively engaged as the champion for this. Got on those calls. This is our workflow today. When a prostate biopsy comes into the department, we accession it into our Epic Beaker system, and it is assigned to the pathologist who will be signing that case out. It's assigned to a resident or fellow who will be, who's designated to review the cases. In the lab, when the slides are, there's a Epic to Philips integration. So in the lab, someone goes in and assigns a case to a fictitious pathologist we had to create within the Philips IMS we call that pathologist prostate IBEX. So once that assignment goes, the signal is given to the IBEX people to pull that particular case and give us, within a few minutes, this image, right? I'm not going to go over too much of this because several of the talks have, and you guys have seen this, but that's our IBEX viewer. I've given you two examples. On the left is the one which is the yellow color, orange color, the middle or the medium likelihood, and then the red one on the right, which is a high likelihood of cancer. These were our numbers. So of course, I don't care about the FDA, frankly. I have to do my own validation, whether it's an FDA approved system or non. I'm going to do my own validation. That's a clear requirement. And so we did the full validation the way we should, defined it, calculated this. Sensitivity was pretty high, specificity. Our numbers were not like the one that were submitted to the FDA. But that's what you have it. And I'm calling only using the high diagnosis as the criteria. If I just look at the ones that are, so here, you look at the numbers there, about 1/3 were high. Almost all of those were cancer, except for one. Low, 97, all were negative. So our experience has been that if IBEX misses or decides that something is benign, it's benign. And as a pathologist who signs out prostate biopsies, it's the benign ones that cause a heartache. We have to spend more time on our benign biopsies. So I'm very grateful to have that function. And then I can focus on the yellow ones. So that's the traditional pathologist. That's how you sign out a case with IBEX now. I'm going to blow up that area and show you are there any GU pathologists here? There's probably at least a couple. I want to focus on that one focus, which I know this pointer isn't working, but look at that. I've outlined in red the cancer. You can recognize the double layer for that benign focus that's outside that, and the AI has also excluded it. So it's very, very, very precise in location. We all know that prostate cancer can hide from the pathologist. You're on a busy day. You might think there's no cancer there, or you might, miss it. But the IBEX can really, any AI can just pick up this. And I really like the heat map function. Here's an example. P63 immunostain really confirms the cancer. As you heard, it can help with the Gleason grading. My GU colleague says, that it's okay. But you have to, if two pathologists check with each other, there's always some variability. So it's just like having another colleague there, right? Or for us, a fellow. It helps identify perineural invasion. Imagine a so-called benign case, but there's just that one tiny focus, which happens to be a perineural invasion. You miss it. You just miss that patient's, advanced cancer. So it's been early days for us. I compared the 3 months before and the 3 months after our IBEX implementation, and we found that about 35% fewer immunostains were ordered, and we were about 20% faster in our turnaround time. So, decreased chance of misdiagnosis. Pathologists are happy. Our urologists just love the fact that we are doing this. And then I'll just talk about off-label use. I'm calling it off-label because this was not developed for biopsies. But we said, hey, what about those annoying transurethral resections? Because those can sometimes come with hundreds of pieces of tissue, many dozens of slides. And it's so easy to miss a little piece of cancer because you're expecting everything benign, right? Here's an example. There's a little focus, lights up. And we're not doing this for all our TURs just yet, and there's quite a few caveats here because of cautery artifact, erratic staining, but even when blown up, it's hard to make sure that is cancer. So here you have one off-label application. And then, occasionally when you have a radical prostatectomy, you want to find out if cancer is touching the margin, what's going on. We can use this now because we have it deployed. So there's many advantages. That's great. Okay, so that's our present. But in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to talk about something that will really exploit the power of AI. And we're now going to go into the large language models. So here is a picture of my department. In the center is Dr. Mike Laposada. He's a clinical pathologist who pioneered the diagnostic management teams. We have a private foundation grant to develop AI-assisted diagnostics, and mostly clinical pathologists, but a couple of us are anatomic pathologists there. And here's a custom GPT that we developed for prostate cancer patients. Okay, I'm going to walk you through it. It's a very detailed multi-step prompt that I developed after battling it out with ChatGPT, because if you just do it from straight out of the box, it doesn't work as well. But with a customization, which is invisible to the end user, the prompt and uploaded in its knowledge base are the existing guidelines from the NCCN and the AUA and ASTRO. And then the user just has to upload the clinical note, the urology note, the radiology MRI, and the pathology report. In this example, we scrub the PHI and we run it. So you just hit the button and it generates, I'm not going to go over this, but it generates a very detailed, customized, step-by-step report giving the summary of the salient clinical history, describing the radiology that led to the biopsy, not just rewriting the biopsy report, but actually saying cancer was found here, here, and here. This is why we now use the guidelines and risk stratified it to this particular unfavorable intermediate risk. And it says because there was perineural invasion and cribriform pattern was present, it calculates the Memorial Sloan Kettering nomogram for prediction of lymph node mets or those kinds of things. And we then have a fully integrated, goes ahead and gives guidelines for how to manage. And this can be in our diagnostic management team report to the urologist. And then the urologist can do what they want with it. In addition, we put the picture of both the prostate MRI and the pathology. And best part, you can then ask ChatGPT, and we have built into this prompt to also prepare a report that the patient can understand using non-technical language that can be delivered to the patient by the urologist or by us if it's a direct-to-patient communication. So that's where we think we are going to go. We're not going to stop with prostate. We're going to go next with breast. We're going to do everything very safely after complete validation and always keeping the human in the loop. I would like to say human at the end of the loop. We have to be the ones taking responsibility, signing the cases out, and of course keep monitoring because these AI tools will degrade over time sometimes, so you have to kind of be careful.
Thank you so much, Professor Thaker. And next, our last speaker for this session is Mariano. Mariano is the pioneer in adopting AI and digital pathology. He's the CEO and founder of CorePlus. And we are really happy to host you today. Please.
Good afternoon. And thank you, IBEX, for this great partnership that we've had. And let's get going. coined the word welcome to our world. We've transformed or transitioned our practice starting back in 2018. And today's talk, as the founder and CEO of CorePlus, we really would like to share with you what has been our experience over these last years. One of the things that I really forgot was that a few months ago we were talking, and now we have celebrated our 5th anniversary of the transformation to digital and AI. And all of this would not have been possible without the incredible team that I lead at CorePlus. And obviously you already know that Dr. Santa's here. My wife, Dr. Ramos, is here. And all the others, and I think Dr. Rivera is back there somewhere. And this couldn't happen without that great team. But I wanted to talk a little bit about cognitive revolution. And this is the way I see it. And I think that we have to think about history and how things change us over time. And I think the one that maybe we've lived through the most has been the second cognitive revolution, which was really the introduction for us of computing. And that really started to change how we saw information and how we managed information. And now we are right in the center of the next transformation, which is the transformation of AI, large language models, and now the development of agents. And I think some of the things that you just seen before are evidence of where we're going. So this was our call to action. I saw a press release from IBEX back in 2018 with UPMC. And when we founded CorePlus, CorePlus was focused on uropathology. So anything that came out that talked about uropathology, we wanted to be there. We wanted to be in the lead in that area. And the image behind you is an image of a company called Bioimaging that back in 2007, 2008, we had one of their first scanners. And it was really a very primitive scanner. All it did was count ER, PR, HER2, Ki67. And it was really the beginning and introduction to us in digital. So there was a gentleman by the name of Joseph Mosel that answered my email, that contact us on the website. And he answered it. I said, wow, he's interested. So our journey started in 2018. So we decided as a group and as an organization that our focus was going to be our primary objective for the next year was that by January 1st of 2020, we would transition or transform our histology practice to primary reads using digital pathology. So it took us a year to put it all together. We are lucky to have a sister company called Syndios, which is our technology arm, and that really helped us because instead of us having to go out and maybe purchase what was on the market at that time, we decided that we really wanted to have full control of our ecosystem because we saw, and we still see, huge changes in the marketplace, new innovations, and we wanted to be able to control our destiny. And so we did our validation. I think like all laboratorians, we all want to do our own validations. And I think the important data point here of all of them is the area under the curve. It came out at 0.991. So one of the things we wanted to know was cancer or no cancer. That was what we wanted. We wanted to implement 100% quality control of all of our prostate biopsies. It was a mission we wanted to do. We wanted to provide that to our patients and to our urologists. The second part, obviously, was looking at Gleason grading, and within the second read system or the quality control system, it was a little bit different. So we finalized the validation, and we implemented and went live on June 1st of 2020. So every single prostate biopsy that came into our laboratory was analyzed by IBEX. So think about that. Here's a paper we published last year. If any of you are interested, just scan the QR code. Some of the data that I will be showing you, there might be information at the IBEX booth if you would like it. So this is our 3-year journey of using AI as a quality control tool. So some of the highlights from that paper was number one, looking at real-world implementation in a private pathology laboratory. So this was in academia. We're running a business. We got to get cases out. We're, doing it day to day. And how do we really take advantage of this tool? We wanted to, instead of doing a 10% quality review, we wanted to do 100%. How good are we? I think Mahul just showed us the difference between a 10% review versus a 100% review. So we wanted to do the 100% review. And on top of that, in private practice, how much time does a pathologist have to dedicate to really seeing consistently that 10% review? The other thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to have or eliminate the false negatives. I think for us, and again, as looking at it, and I see it from a business perspective, you have all of the pathologists before me that have tremendous experience, but how do I reduce my liability? How do I give patients better service? So we wanted to eliminate our false negatives. And lastly, we thought that this would normalize or democratize the ability of all of our pathologists to be good at diagnosing prostate cancer. So here we go. This is our 49-inch monitor that we use for all of our cases and throughout. One of the nice things about it is that we used it to deploy the second read, and this is how the quality control or second read system worked at that time. So we have the glass slides scanned, information is entered into the laboratory information system. The images are uploaded to the IBEX cloud. At the same time, the pathologist was diagnosing the case. Then we had a reconciliation, or we reviewed the alerts, and we emitted a quality controlled report. Now, that was extra work, because now the pathologist has to wait to get the information back from IBEX in order to close the case. But that gave us that 100% quality control review that we wanted to. Another, in our laboratory, we have gone to doing 3 levels on one slide. Many years ago, we gave up the idea of having 3 slides with 3 levels, and our positivity rate did not change. So currently, we do that on all of our cases. And in the study, and the other thing is, you can see here is our positivity rate over time. Even though it has gone up, it's about 50% now. Obviously, patient selection criteria has changed over time by the urologist. I mean, there's many factors, so I don't want to say it's AI only. I think it's a lot of factors that have come into play as we get better patient selection and better technologies. But the one thing I want you to really think about is that in our study, over the last the 3-year period that we did from June of 2020, June 1, to May of 2023, we analyzed 122,441 slides. That meant that the AI algorithm, there were 367,323 iterations of that algorithm. I don't know how much data more do we need. At least for us, that was convincing enough. And here are some of the results. I don't want to really bore you with this at this time, but basically these are the total number of cancer diagnoses. And one of the things that we developed of the 9,267 cases, we had revisions of 136 cases. And what we called it the AI impact, was when the pathologist did not diagnose the lesion and went back in review and the AI picked it up. So we called that the AI impact. And we also did the same thing for the Gleason grading, or ASAP to group 1. And that was just that group to whatever. I mean, there was no distinction in this version of the algorithm. And that was only 0.26. So here's what we call the AI impact. In our practice, we had 4 pathologists. And now you could see how their rate of detecting cases, or detecting the AI detected cases or lesions, where the pathologist did not. And so this is one area where I think it's very important, where we now are able to have more decrease the interoperator variability and have a very standard approach to all of our cases. So in May of 2023, we then implemented the current, what we call first read, which is what many of you see today. Much simpler, and it gives us a lot more efficiency. So I go back to my cognitive idea, and I think something to think about. But the one that the middle one, which is the AI-assisted workflow, it helps us. I think, as pathologists that are in this room, and like Dr. Thaker said, it's those negatives that bother you. You go home at night and you're thinking, did I miss something in that case? So this helps you. And the other area that I think is very important in today's world, where we're maybe short-staffed, we talk about the decrease in pathologists. That's been going around for years, and we're building more cases. I don't have that information 100%, but let's say it's true. How do we redistribute that energy in higher level thinking? So we call it cognitive fuel redistribution. So now, by using the first read application, which triages the cases for us, so we know which are the negatives, which have no label, the yellows, which are borderline cases, and obviously the reds are cancer. That now assists the pathologist as how they want to work. So maybe you want to do all of your yellows first, because maybe they require immunohistochemistry, get those into the process, and then whatever you like. You want to do your negatives or your positives, that's secondary, because you're going to do it very rapidly. And this is a poster session we presented at the DPA, Dr. Santa and the team. And here we show a 25% reduction in time for review. This is on top of the reduction in time because we are in a digital workflow. I don't think people have measured not just what AI brings to the table, but by transforming the practice to digital primary read has given us at least a 30% more efficient use of our pathologist time. So that's a combination of digital plus AI. So here are some of the thoughts I have. Number one, our negative predictive value. I think it's beyond doubt that when IBES, and there's a doctor, and I don't know if his son is in this room today, Dr. Dario Sanabria, who says when IBES says it's negative, it's negative. Don't waste any time. And I think in the future, you're just going to sign out those cases automatically. I know it's hearsay what I'm saying right now, but that's going to happen. So, number two, we have efficiency. 25% reduction in time to interpretation. And for us, it doesn't include all of the new things that we could be doing. I think some of the things that you just saw, they're going to make the pathologists even more efficient with reporting. You know, we're normalizing the variability among our pathologists. So we democratize the ability of, in this case, reading or interpreting prostate biopsies. In the marketplace, we have a competitive advantage. We're providing our patients with the latest and greatest tool, and obviously their urologist. Another important aspect today, recruitment and retention of our talent. Providing these tools are an important aspect of today's younger generation. They want to have these tools. They want to have work-life balance. They want to have the ability of being remote. All of our pathologists have stations at their homes. They can read remotely. And some of them do on a weekly basis. They have days where they're remote, they're hybrid, and days where they're in the lab. Professional satisfaction. And when I say professional satisfaction, I'm not just talking about the pathologist. I'm talking about organization. The pride that we have by leading the way in the digital transformation. All of our team, everybody, is proud to work at CorePlus because of what we're doing and what we're doing on a national and international stage. They see what we're doing and they feel proud of us. So this technology helps us recruit, not just on the pathologist side, but overall. And lastly, I think, again, was brought up, the decrease in medical liability. Obviously, we haven't talked to our med mal carriers yet, but is this something that we need to be looking at? Is there an area of opportunity here to reduce our med mal cost by bringing in AI? And maybe it's another way we look at it, a way of hitting that expense line. And lastly, where do you want to be? I think that you're going to be the information specialist of the future. I saw the other day also an interesting definition of a diagnostic oncologist. I think that you have to redefine who we are. What are we going to provide to our colleagues, to our patients? And we have the power, because we have the data, to lead the way. We can't no longer sit in the back. We have to be in the front. We have to sit with the patient. They have to know the value that we bring to the table. And our payers have to know the value that we bring to the table. Thank you very much.